Hello everyone, Joshua Myers here, and today I'm going to be giving my thoughts on the final trailer for Star Wars, The Rise of Skywalker. Hello everyone, I'm Joshua.
And I'm Abe.
Amanda.
I'm Jay. I'm Josh too.
So, the final trailer for The Rise of Skywalker premiered a while ago today, I think about 30 minutes ago, probably, something like that, an hour ago. Posted on the official Star Wars YouTube channel. And, well, before I get started in on this, I'd just like to give my quick thoughts on the sequel trilogy. I will probably go more in depth on reviews for the sequel trilogy, in fact, of the whole Star Wars franchise in general. Because I'm planning on trying to film reviews of all the Star Wars movies until The Rise of Skywalker is released this December. So expect to see those coming out some point. Thinking about starting to film them this month and then releasing them closer to the release date of The Rise of Skywalker, which is December 20th. And expect to see a review for The Rise of Skywalker as well, both a spoiler-free and a spoiler-filled review. But, so my thoughts so far on the sequel trilogy and just the Disney Star Wars movies in general. At least quick thoughts. Force Awakens, I really liked. I think it could have been better than it was. It's not perfect. But I thought it was a great way to reintroduce, audience members to Star Wars. I thought it was also a great way to reintroduce fans of Star Wars, both old and new. And it was a fun movie. I did enjoy it. I think it could have been much better, but, I was like, okay, Disney, I like what you're doing so far. Let's see what you do with the next one. There came out Rogue One, A Star Wars Story, and I liked it, I think it was, I did like it, I liked it about as much as I did with The Force Awakens. So far, for the first two movies, pretty strong, movies as in regards to, what they're starting to do with what they were starting to do with the Star Wars material. And I was like, okay, and the trailer for The Last Jedi came out, and I was hyped. I was excited. I was not expecting it going to be like, the Empire Strikes Back of the sequel trilogy, as they were referring it to. I was not expecting that. I hoped for that, but at the same time, too, I was thinking realistically and be like, yeah, it's not going to be as good as The Empire Strikes Back, but it probably would be pretty good. It looked nice, and just, there were certain things in the trailer I was like, ooh, and then I saw the movie for the first time, and wow, didn't like it at all. So, there's a spoiler for my thoughts on The Last Jedi. Now, granted, there were some cool things in The Last Jedi, but it's far from a perfect movie. I could go on and on about The Last Jedi and make that video about this, but that's not what I'm here to discuss, although it does play a big part in it. So, I don't want this to become a rant for The Last Jedi. I may do that in my review of it. I will have to rewatch The Last Jedi, which I'm dreading that. But, I digress. So, with the disappointment of The Last Jedi, which, for most part, people didn't like it. Star Wars fans didn't like it. if you're one of those few people who do like The Last Jedi, you know, more power to you. You could, you could like The Last Jedi, and I could see why some people would, but for me, I did not like it. I was massively disappointed by The Last Jedi, and Solo's Star Wars story was being advertised, and I was like, okay, maybe The Last Jedi was just one big fuck up. You know, it happens. It happens with a lot of really great and talented people. For me, I fucked up with my second Saw film, Saw in Game Part 1. I didn't thought it was as good as it could have been. In fact, honestly, I think it's a complete shit show. The only good thing from my second Saw film would be the performance of Andrew. Andrew and his character, I think, was done much better in my second film than the first one. Plus, it seemed like Andrew just seemed to have more. Plus, it just seemed like Andrew just seemed to be more invested that time around and taking things more seriously than he did with my first one, Saw Reborn. But, speaking of which, my second Saw film had a lot of problems to begin with. Like, I practically wanted it to be, what if Saw 3D was good? And I tried to attempt that, and I just didn't have enough time as I thought I would have. And I thought with about at least the amount of time I did for my first film, which even then wasn't that much time. I didn't have as much time with my first film as I would have liked, because there was a lot of stuff I wanted to explore with my first film. But I had even less time with my second film. And at first I thought I was going to have about as much time with my first film as I did with my second film as I did with my first film. But due to, so apparently Marshall had to change plans on timing, and we had to get his shots as much as we could. We also had to get Andrew's shots as much as he could too. Because of all this, and yeah, it just came out as a rushed product. And because it said rushed product, I was only able to get a beginning for the film and an end, not a middle. And if you were to watch it, you could tell that. And so, yeah, even great directors have fucked up before. Like, even great filmmakers have fucked up before. So, yeah, not every film you do is going to be perfect. But anyway, back to what I was saying about The Rise of Skywalker. And that's, well, honestly for me, I'm no longer excited for Star Wars. I mean, I'm a big Star Wars fan. And sad to see Star Wars in the state it's in. It really is. And I'm like, if they really want to bring Star Wars back to its glory days, they're going to have to do something really special with this movie. In fact, knowing that, I feel like, because I watched Dave McRae's video for his first thoughts on this trailer too, and one thing I do agree with him is that, with The Last Jedi being as shitty as it was, and knowing that how divisive it was among the fan base, like, it was the most polarizing film in Star Wars history, even more so than the prequel movies and everything else. So, yeah. It did divided the fan base greatly. So, what he practically said what he thinks they should do is, not make this a trilogy and do episode 10. And have J.J. Abrams signed on to do episode 10. So that they could build more on certain character arcs and everything that The Last Jedi just seemed to have swept under the rug or just completely threw into the incinerator. I saw the trailer for The Rise of Skywalker. I've seen all the trailers that have come out so far, and especially with this newest one, and I'm not hyped at all. Not excited. And that's really disappointing because it's like, I should feel excited in that. Like the bar should be raised so fucking high, especially since it's meant to be the last of the Skywalker saga. I mean, really think about that. Like, you're going to have to put a lot of high stakes with this movie. Especially since, again, it's meant to be the conclusion of the Skywalker saga. So it's meant to cap off everything from the prequel movies, the original trilogy especially, and the sequel trilogy. It's going to try to do that. That's what its purpose is. So the bar should be raised fucking high. And the hype should be there. But it isn't. And I don't blame J.J. Abrams for this. I really don't. I think compared to Rian Johnson, I think he cares more about Star Wars than Rian Johnson does. I feel like Rian Johnson, to him, The Last Jedi was just a paycheck for him. Now, to be fair, I've never seen any other Rian Johnson directed movie. But at the same time, too, The Last Jedi really blew any chance of me seeing any of his other films that came before or after. Like, for example, Rian Johnson has a film coming out called Knives Out, which I have not seen the trailer to, at least I believe so. And that's because I don't care. I don't care about the guy. I just really don't. Now, if he made The Last Jedi good and everything, then maybe I would have been like, okay, I would like to see what this guy has done. And maybe check out his other work. But because of all the creative decisions involved with The Last Jedi, and just like, again, I could go on and on about The Last Jedi. I'll probably do that for my review of it. Which I'm going to have to rewatch The Last Jedi, which I'm dreading to watch that. I mean, it will be nice to rewatch all the Star Wars movies for my Star Wars franchise review, but for my Star Wars franchise review series, but the one I'm dreading the most is The Last Jedi. But that may be a fun one to discuss. So yeah, and there was no shots in this trailer. I mean, it was a nice trailer. It was shot nice, and does feel like a J.J. Abrams Star Wars movie. It does. It feels like The Force Awakens, which is good, you know? So that's a good sign, at least. At least I hope it is. Because as a director working under a studio, there's only so much you can do. Like, you're not, like, unless if you're somebody like Steven Spielberg or anybody like that, you're not given much control as far as how your film turns out, which is unfortunate. I feel like Hollywood should be letting these talented filmmakers get their vision out, which their vision is probably better than what they want. So, that a classic example of that is with Halloween 6, The Curse of Michael Myers. Even though both versions aren't perfect, I would say for me, I would prefer the producer's cut of Halloween 6 over the theatrical cut. That if I had to pick between which one I would have liked to have seen shown in theaters, it would have been the producer's cut. I think that's a much better movie than the theatrical cut. But I don't think both are perfect movies. Both of them have flaws. But as far as which one was better, and the one I would have preferred to have been the theater version, I would have preferred the producer's cut. So, yeah, that's a classic example of that. Another classic example is with Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 3. There was so much studio mangling with that movie to a point where when he started working on Spider-Man 4, He just decided, because they were doing all the same stuff again, and I think even worse the second time around, and I'm like, and he was like, he just had it. He decided to step down, and therefore, we end up getting the Amazing Spider-Man movies. So, to me, that's another classic example of all of this. And is why I prefer to go with the independent route. Because if you go with the independent route, you're able to do whatever you want, really, with your film. You can make it your vision. You can even do the marketing yourself. And edit your trailers in that, and that's what I've been doing. And honestly, for me, I think they should have showed more with this trailer. I don't know, maybe show, like, Palpatine in full. Something that would have been made me be like, holy shit! This is fucking awesome! You know, something to that degree. Because a trailer is meant to get you hype. A trailer is meant to get you to go, like, basically a trailer is meant to get your butt in the theater to see this movie. And be excited for said movie. And so far, the marketing for The Rise of Skywalker haven't done that. At least to the extent I wanted it to be. And I feel like most other people do. I've seen videos, not just Dave McRae's, but also I've seen, for example, Tyrone Magnus' video of his reaction to The Rise of Skywalker final trailer. And he also does not seem excited for it. Because of what The Last Jedi did. Also, I think to add insult to injury is what Solo did. Solo Star Wars Story. Which didn't, like, frustrate me as much as The Last Jedi did. But it did have so many issues. Again, I could go on about that film too, as, you know, as many times as I want. But I don't know. I feel like there's no salvaging Star Wars after the shit show that was The Last Jedi, and especially after Solo. Like, Solo didn't help with that either. Honestly, for me, I think at this point, what I would do is honestly just, I think they should give up the rights for Star Wars. Both Lucasfilm and Disney should just give up the rights to Star Wars and give it to the studio and people who actually care about this franchise other than just for the money. That's what I think they should do. Because Star Wars isn't looking too good. It isn't. And I think this is the lowest point the Star Wars franchise has been. And I think at this point the Star Wars franchise is dead. I do think so. Although, to be fair, honestly, for me, I think the Star Wars franchise has been dead since The Empire Strikes Back. I think that was the last really great Star Wars movie. In fact, for me, that'd probably be my favorite of the Star Wars films. And the best one made to date. So I guess you also know my thoughts on The Empire Strikes Back so far, so a bit spoilers for my review and ranking. But, yeah. And I've seen, like, fan films for Star Wars and that, and they've done so much better than what Disney is doing right now. And what Star Wars has been. In fact, they've even taken material from the prequels and actually made them good. Even taken material from the sequel trilogy and make it good. So I'm like, that just shows how much fans care about this compared to Lucasfilm and Disney. But yeah, knowing me, you know, like, I'd probably go see it in the theater anyway, because I would have to do that for my review series for the Star Wars franchise, so. Either that or I could wait till it comes out on DVD and just wait till I see it at the pawn shop or somebody else gets it for me. You know what? That's what I'm going to do. I'm not going to see it in theaters. I'm not. Just like what I'm going to do with Terminator Dark Fate. I'm not going to see that in the theaters. I'm not going to see The Rise of Skywalker in the theater. I'm not. I'm just going to wait till both of those come out on DVD and watch them for myself. You know? Whether that be, whether that be until my brother ends up getting both movies on DVD, which he probably is. Knowing him, he's a completist. I used to be a completist too, but depending on the movie and that now, if it's a complete shit show, like for example Hellraiser Revelations, which I did have on Blu-ray, I decided to trade that in at the pawn shop, so I broke the completionist in me. So but yeah, but knowing him, he's a complete completionist. He's probably going to get The Rise of Skywalker and Terminator Dark Fate on DVD, which when he does, I'll probably watch them with him. And I'll do my reviews of both movies then. And I will update my ranking video for the Terminator franchise review. I'll update my ranking video for the Terminator franchise to add Terminator Dark Fate. And I'll also do a ranking of the Star Wars movies from worst to best as well. So, and also, of course, I would watch every single Star Wars movie and review every single one, and up until the release of The Rise of Skywalker on DVD. But yeah, as of right now, I think the state of Star Wars isn't good. In fact, honestly, I think Star Wars is dead as of right now. You know. Now, I still love the original trilogy. You know, that's always going to be there. Even the prequels I find, to be like a guilty pleasure trilogy. I find the prequel trilogy to be, so bad it's entertainingly fun to watch. And of course, I did like The Force Awakens and Rogue One. And for me, if The Rise of Skywalker is no good, then I'll just, probably stop, for me, probably I'll just stop at Return of the Jedi, because I think that's where the series should have ended. Even though I thought Return of the Jedi was kind of a downgrade from The Empire Strikes Back, it was a perfect send-off for the Star Wars franchise. So, yeah. For me, that's where the Star Wars movies have ended. So those were my thoughts. So those were my thoughts on the final trailer for The Rise of Skywalker. With that said, I'm Joshua Myers, and I'll see you next time.